Okay, here we go. For today, what we're going to do is the first thing we're going to do is go over our homework. You're going to complete the warm-up on your warm-up sheet where you're supposed to. So go ahead and take a few minutes and do that. Pause this recording. For number 1, we can look at this and figure out that 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 3 is 27, 27 times 3 is 81. So R is equal to 3. The next 3 terms in my sequence are going to be 243, 729, and 2187. For number 2, we can see that my numbers are going down. So R is equal to 1/3. The next 3 terms, 1/3 of 36 is 12. 1/3 of 12 is 4, and 1/3 of 4 is 4/3, and you can leave it just like that. So if you did not get those correct, please fix them and fix it on your warm-up. Okay, last night's homework, I have left you the key, so you are free to scroll through and check your answers. Notice that I did fill in the next term. Even if there was an N, and if I could figure out the pattern, I went ahead and filled in that term. So if you couldn't figure that out and you left it blank where you have an N for arithmetic or geometric, it's okay. So I will check these when I get back tomorrow. So today we're going to talk about writing recursive formulas. So in your notes, make sure that you're filling this in as we go. I'm going to look for it tomorrow. You can pause the video and go back, and you will have your assignment at the end. Okay, writing recursive formulas. Here we go. Explain in words what is happening in the sequence below. From 3 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 24, and 24 to 48. What's happening is the next term is doubled. So how could we create a formula to find the next term or the 10th term? So in my notes here, I've got arithmetic sequences, geometric sequences, and then we've got sequence notation and function notation. So we're going to be using both of these. Okay, so f of n is the range, the term of the sequence, and n is the position or where it's at, the domain of the sequence. So this f of n here, this stands for the range, and n in the function, it stands for my domain. So we just talked about that, so we're just carrying on what we've been talking about. Okay, so the way we say that is, the way we say this right here is the value in this list position is the value before the step you are on times the common ratio. So that's what's happening. So this is the step before, and then this is times my common ratio right there. Okay, so n down here stands for the position. D stands for the common difference. We talked about this yesterday. And R stands for my common ratio. We talked about this yesterday. We have a common difference when we have an arithmetic sequence. We have a common ratio when we have a geometric sequence. Okay, so in my examples here, it says for the sequence 7, 10, 13, 16, 19, identify the following. What is A1? The number that is in the first position. So A1 is my number in my first position. That is 7. A4, that tells me that this number, this term is in the fourth position. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 16. What is A6? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do they give me A6? They don't give me A6, but can I figure out A6? What is my pattern? My pattern is going up by 3. So if I were to go 19 and go up 3, I would end up with 22. And then it says, what is A of n? So that is my formula. A of n equals A times n minus 1, that's my base, plus 3. And then what is A of 200? Can we figure that out here? No, we can't figure this out. From this formula. So with a recursive formula, we can't figure out an nth term because it doesn't help us to do that. Okay? That's what you need to know about recursive formulas. So for this sequence over here, 1600, 800, 400, 200, 100, we're going to identify the following. This is a function formula, so F1 is going to be this is our position, so it's 1600. F4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 200. F6, we don't know what that is, but we can tell my pattern is dividing. It is multiplying by 1/2, so it's 50. F of n, so that is our function rule. F of n is equal to times 1/2. And remember that these are really written really small, so it's not really times, it's times 1/2. There you go. And then what is F of 200? It's the same reason as this. We cannot figure that out because we don't have the correct formula to do that. We would need an explicit formula to figure out what F of 200 is. So how would someone find the 200th term in the sequences above? How helpful is the formula? The formula is not helpful at all. To find the 200th term, we would have to list out all of the terms up to that term. We would have to make the list. To make the list. Okay, so these formulas are called recursive formulas, and I'm going to change the color so that you can see this. These are recursive formulas. This means that the formula requires using the preceding term to define the next term in the sequence. That's what recursive formulas means. It means that we need to use the term before to find the next term. If we don't have the term before, we cannot find the next term. That's why we can't find the 200th term. Okay? Their main purpose is to show that what the pattern is. They're not that helpful when trying to find the terms in the sequence. Using the sequences below, we're going to find the recursive formula. We're going to write it in both the sequence notation and the function notation. So you can refer back to this table here to help you with the next part. All right, so number 1, we have 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have a common difference, so D equals 1. And we're going to write this in sequence notation. In sequence notation, it's A of n equals A of n minus 1 plus 1. In my function notation, it's going to be f of n equals f of n minus 1 plus 1. There it is. That's all you need to do here is you're writing it in sequence notation and you're writing it in function notation. So you have to find the common difference or the common ratio, and then you need to write the formulas, write the notations. So in number 2, we've got 1 to -4, -4 to -9, -9 to -14. So in this one, our common difference is going to be -5. In sequence notation, we have a of n is equal to a of n minus 1 minus 5. In function notation, f of n is equal to f of n minus 1 minus 5. Okay, let's look at number 3. Number 3, 2 to 8, 8 to 32, 32 to 128, 128 to 512. I have a common ratio of 4. So in my notation, it's a of n equals a of n minus 1 times 4. Function notation, f of n equals f of n minus 1
Vanessa Truax, your father's
times
outside
4.
waiting for you. You need to go to the front of the building immediately. Vanessa Truax, front of the building.
Okay, number 4, 36 to -24 to 16 to -32 thirds to 64 ninths. My common ratio is -2 thirds. So a of n minus 1 times -2 thirds. Function notation, f of n is equal to f of n minus 1 times -2 thirds. So we just continue to do this all the way through until we get to the end. And then I'm going to let you try number 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I want you to do that on your own. I will give you those answers when we come back tomorrow. I want you to try those, but I do want to look at number 10. On number 10, it says find the nth term for the sequence below. So we've got 7 to 23, 23 to 87, 87 to 343. So when I look at my answer choices below, I have to figure out, is this going to work? Is 23 minus 1 plus 16 going to give me 87? So when I plug in these numbers into my formula, I need to figure out what works. So if I look at these and I figure out which pattern here will fit it, I can figure out that pattern B, answer B, is going to be my correct answer.
Again, if anyone has worked with this afternoon, Vanessa Truax, anyone has seen her this afternoon, would you please call either the 7000 number or 7104? We do have a
Okay, here we go. So I filled in the answers for you. Take a look. Fill in yours. See if you got what I got. Okay, now take out your TEKS checklist. You had your first look, your first exposure to A12D. Go ahead and shade in this square for whatever you feel like. Remember, if you're shading anything red or yellow, you probably need to get some help before the TEKS check on Thursday, and your homework is in Schoology. It's assignment 3-2, and it is due tomorrow. If you finish that before the end of class today, I've put some extra algebra antics practice in your Schoology. You are to work on that. There's no talking, so please don't give the sub a hard time. And just work on this. If you have questions, please feel free to ask me when I return.